Briscoes, Ash Handley, and 2 others who I couldn't make out because it was dark. But we didn't stop and chat or anything. We just let them be because they were clearly sort of in a bit of a zone, and with COVID, you don't want to go too close or get up in their face, especially sort of later on. So we let them be, but I pointed them out and then pointed out who they were the next day. But yeah, I mean, it was a gripping game, and it had everything in it really. It had it had some drama. I think before we get into talking too much about the game, though, we need to talk about, obviously, the Abide With Me was perfectly done. I think they really judged that well, and that montage was, as stirring, what you lacked from the way it makes you feel if you're in the ground. I think, it hit all the feels by the way they did it on the TV presentation. And I really like the way the BBC did the little update on the World Cup and the little chat about that and throwing those bits around before kickoff. I thought that was really good. But we've got to talk briefly about the national anthem and specifically Gil Dudson. What was he doing with that bottle of water?
This has passed me by. I was just so...
I missed that.
Yeah, I was so befuddled by the fact that that Lizzie Jones could sing the national anthem in the stadium, but Abide With Me from Huddersfield within 10 minutes of each other. So go on, you're going to have to explain Gil Dudson in his water bottle.
So Gil Dudson, it looked to me like he was washing his nuts. He sort of shoved his water bottle down his shorts and sort of had a bit of a rummage round while the national anthem was going on.
So it brings a whole different idea to the Watersplash final, I suppose.
Yeah, and he just sort of it's almost like as well. He sort of, I don't know if it's that he knew the camera was on and it was just a nod to someone back home, or it was deliberate, or it was just something he does before a game, and we've never seen it. We've never had a camera on him before, and we've never seen it before. But
he wasn't going to be belting out the English national anthem, was he? I suppose.
Well,
although people will say it's the British national anthem as well, or whatever. But
there we go.
Welsh people probably don't agree with that.
I always say, there's room for both, as someone who can, go for both. But yeah, it was just odd. I mean, what? Yeah, it just dumbfounded because I saw it live and I sort of was like, did that just happen? And then I looked on Twitter and it was the clip was going everywhere, and I was like, oh, it did just happen.
Well, he had a wash of his balls, and then we got to kicking off the match, and 12 minutes in, Tom Briscoe scored the first try, Reece Martin goaling right off the touchline. But this one was not without a little bit of controversy. Certainly, I felt like Twitter was divided. I don't know if we're divided or not about this one. John, I'll come to you first because it's probably the most simple person to come to on this. Was his foot in touch, or was it in the field of play?
No, you can clearly see grass in between the line and the foot, surely.
Tim, did you feel it was so clear cut?
I actually think, there was, I could, from that second or third angle they looked at where it was behind and to the side, you could see there was boot grass line, which I think is okay. And I think, again, as we've talked about lots of times on here, it's something you want to see. You want to see that spectacular play. And I think when it is close like that, you've got to give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker.
Yeah, I can see why Salford fans and neutrals and stuff have looked at it and thought that's not conclusive for me that his foot, that it was grass you could see and not the side of his shoe that you could see.
Yeah.
Or something in between, a shadow. I don't know, but to me it was given us a try. It rewarded the attack, which is what we always want to see. And I didn't see any angle that suggested conclusively that his foot was on the chalk. I thought it was more suggestive that his heel was up rather than his toes in the field of play than his foot being on the chalk to me. But what it rewarded was a cracking offload, wasn't it, from Conrad Hurrell? The first of many great pieces of hands we saw in the Leeds tries.
And up to that point, we had a lot of good play already from Richie Myler. So from even before that, we'd had in the build-up and I think in the set or two before, he'd cleaned up from the back well, and he'd already shown by that point that he was really on form and firing that afternoon.
And John, you must have been confident because Leeds were kind of dominating the territory a little bit there, weren't they, in the possession, certainly in that first 15 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And for that try, I think I mentioned last week, like Hurrell's handling, and you talked about him improving, but I think that's a fairly new thing where everybody, from that range, everyone's kind of expecting him to like bash over and take 4 people with him and score it himself. So now to add in that little offload when he's attracting so many defenders to give the winger, the running is really encouraging to see.
Yeah, no, definitely. But then, on 19 minutes, something out of nothing, Salford had barely touched the ball, and they hadn't. I don't think they'd had a play of the ball in Leeds' half, certainly not in the attacking zone. But then up pops former Leeds legend Callum Watkins to clutch a ball out of the air, make a good offload to Niall Evalds, who threw a beautiful instinctive pass out to Rhys Williams, and it was, one of the greatest tries we've seen scored at Wembley.
It was beat Beppe, wasn't it? He was away. He was you could see as well. He just seemed to. He was one of these players that his speed improves in his second 20 meters. He was off and he was going, but then he just got quicker. But again, it was all about the positioning that he was ready to take that ball from Evalds, it was a perfectly weighted pass for him to catch.
Yeah, the transition from defence into attack, and it's the best Wembley final try since the last time we saw that sort of a transition from defence into attack, I think, with Joel Tompkins' try back in 2011. It's the best Wembley final try for me since then, and I thought it was a fantastic try. What were you feeling at this time, John?
Lucky. No, I thought it was really slick to turn, because you see that so many times where the player catches it, then drops or surrenders a tackle or things like that. So to instantly be thinking, right, how can we get back at them? It was really impressive. Like you said, Williams is so quick. I think it's probably the first breakaway try Leeds have conceded where Ash Handley hasn't even got into the picture, from the chase back. So that he's quick then.
Yeah, of course, because it was Hanley's wing they were kicking towards, so Hanley will have overrun that play, wouldn't he, going towards the kick, and so that created the space. I think Matt Pryor was the closest person to it when the break first happened, so you sort of thought, there's a good chance here, unless someone can come from the other side, there's a very good chance that this is going to be a spectacular try. And then Leeds reasserted, I think, their control of the game. I'm probably some good moments from Luke Gale of controlling the game. I think maybe as well Cruz Lehman was quite good during this period, just getting the forwards into position and kind of controlling the field position, even though Salford looked threatening when they did get the ball. But the next piece of decisive action was the very, very clear double movement from James Donaldson.
Yeah. It was almost a triple movement. It was always move once, move it forward a bit, and then pick it up and move it again.
I think he just thought whoever was deciding on this game had seen his try the other week, where you thought he's got no chance, and he managed to keep his effort going and just score. And was that in the game against? I can't even remember. It was against the week before the cup final, anyway, wasn't it? At Headingley, but no.
No.
No controversy over this one, anyway. That's for sure.
No, you won't get out from me.
Yeah, but Leeds, giving away the penalty on the Salford line didn't really interrupt Leeds too much at this stage. Ash Handley popped up with a try. Great hands from Richie Myler. This was at the spell of the game, wasn't it, where we were starting to see Evalds and Myler basically saying, whichever team wins, we're getting the lance tart. Because you'd seen a few flashes from Evalds, and then Myler says, well, I can do something in attack as well. I've caught everything you've kicked at me so far. Let's see if I can do more in attack. And he had great hands as the second pass in on this one. I mean, his great hands on Hanley's first score. We'll talk more about some good hands from Richie Myler later on. But what did you think at this stage, John? Did you think it was just desserts for the efforts you'd been putting in?
Yeah, I thought Leeds were really starting to wrestle and get on top. As I mentioned, I was in the pub for this. So was this the one where it was a really slick catch and pass from Myler to
Sutcliffe, yeah.
Sutcliffe and then out to Handley, yeah. And Watkins kind of rushed out the line and clattered him just as he was offloading it, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Callum Watkins did a few Kevin Sinfield impressions.
Well, he did a Callum Watkins impression from that same game, as I remember it as well.
Yeah. To be fair, that whole side did go. But then came maybe Richie Myler's biggest. I can't remember if it was slightly before or slightly after this try, but maybe Richie Myler's most important involvement in that first half was the take from the chip through from Evolds when Salford had set up a great position. Like I said, they were looking threatening when they did have the ball. They just never had it. But Evolds got through from a great little bit of interplay around the ruck between Brown and Lussick, I think, and then Evolds decided to chip when he could have tried to force a pass to a man inside him. That was another option, or dribbled it along the floor or something. But Richie Myler all of a sudden grew in size and stature, took the ball from the air and actually made a really good escaping run himself, and he had a couple of good breaks, didn't he, from that got Leeds from the couple of times Salford could have put them under pressure, got them up towards halfway. So would you think these were the moments that led to Myler eventually getting the Man of the Match award?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think since he took over, stood in for Walker, there's been no doubt that the attacking plays where he chimes into the line and just adds in that extra man or whatever have been really, really strong. But it's that kind of defensive side and the open field running and those kind of things that I think maybe I certainly wasn't as confident in him, and probably where Walker had the edge. But on Saturday, it was like he'd suddenly clicked and it was all there.
And there we are then, 12-6 at half time. So how were you feeling when you went to get your when you sat at your table and ordered your half time beer?
I was feeling positive. I thought that we should have been further ahead, but I was hopeful that we could keep the pressure up and Salford might fade. And that's probably where I was a little bit naive thinking about Salford, because that's not how they play, really, is it? They tend to kind of dig in and just be really, really resilient all the way through. So at that point, I was kind of hopeful that we'd sort of extend it a little bit and well, certainly be more comfortable at one point, but end up being 13 plus for my bet.
and just before half time, we did have Paulie trying to use Adam Cuthbertson as a speed bump, which was one of my moments. I just enjoyed it for the fact that Cuthbertson just sort of seemed to throw himself down and just decide to try and stop him any way he could, and Paulie wasn't stopping.
I think I missed that, but yeah. Cuthbertson, that's enough for me.
I was thinking Cuthbertson's big physical encounter was just at the other side of half time, but maybe that played into it, Tim, the one at the back end.
With him and McCarthy going into it. And I think it was mostly actually poor tackle technique, that the hips weren't square on, and they just both went at each other the wrong way. I mean, he's quite a basic tackles it, so I don't know if there was an element of fatigue in there creeping in already, but it's just they just seem to go a bit too low and just be able to be shrugged off, and they both clashed each other.
Do you agree, Tim, that Leeds were the better side in the first half, and if anything, the territory they had, they probably would have wanted to come off with a 2-score lead rather than just the 1-score lead at that stage?
I think so. I think that for the possession they had and the attacks they've made and the sort of the work, as we mentioned with Myler coming out of defence, where he was able to get them up to 40 before they even had to start playing. I think that deserved a bit more capitalisation, but at the same time they did what they had to do. I mean, they got themselves ahead, and they neutralised any threat from Salford, and Salford unfortunately just didn't look in that first half like they had an attacking weapon. They didn't have a spark, and I wonder a part of that is probably driven by missing Dan Sargentson, that he just, the sort of spark play that he could get you and coming out of nowhere and being able to inject that thing. I wonder if it was him not being there that kind of left that gap.
I think Evans brought that a bit too in that first half as well. I was really impressed with